My youngest daughter and I were cleaning our house, and I was talking on the phone to my oldest daughter who was in Pennsylvania. We're just talking, and I must have known something was wrong because I told my daughter, I said, hang on a minute, and I set the phone down. I don't remember any of it, but my daughter that was with me said, I looked like I was having a seizure or something. I was shaking, and then I just went limp in my chair. So she hung up the phone, called 911, and they walked her through everything, and she had to get me on the floor and do CPR. She was 16. She was a gymnastics coach at the YMCA. So as a coach, they were required to have first aid and CPR certification. She never thought she would have to use it, and especially on somebody she knows. After she called and started CPR, the ambulance showed up 2 minutes after the sheriff got there. So they were able to start treatment right away. I'd had a sudden cardiac death, they called it. So it's an electrical issue, not a heart damage or blockage issue. I spent 23 days in the ICU and another 28 days in a rehab hospital, having to learn how to do everything all over again. I couldn't feed myself, I couldn't do anything. It was like my body was fighting with everything that it had in order to survive. It was very frustrating because you can't communicate, it's awful. And you wake up not knowing what happened to you in the first place. I have an implanted defibrillator. It also has a pacemaker function, which I don't use, but it's there. Thankfully, it hasn't gone off yet. I'm doing great now. Other than a few minor, I guess we'll call them, issues with blood pressure too low, but other than that, I'm able to do not quite everything I'd like to be able to do, but instead of running a race, I'm walking a race. Life could be a lot worse. It became very apparent to me that people still in this day and age think that CPR can't work unless you're in a medical setting. I happened to be sitting in the stands at a track meet for my daughter, and a man was sitting a few rows behind me, and it was a really cold, windy day, so there weren't all that many people in the stands. And he was really very loud, talking to his friend about what a waste the day before had been for his time and his company's money, because they made all of the employees take a first aid and CPR course. And his exact words were, and we all know that CPR doesn't work anyway. My family knows me well enough to know that I can't keep my mouth shut when I hear something like that. So I turned around and I had to say, you know, I wasn't eavesdropping, but there's really no one else around. You need to know that CPR does work. And my 16-year-old who is down there on that field did the CPR. I said, anybody can do it, and it certainly does work. I'm here because my 16-year-old knew what to do. She was certified. And it can be the difference between somebody living and somebody dying.